So welcome to the Payback Team Training call. This call, what we're going to do is go over how to hit big goals and how to set big goals and then how to hit them as well. One of the things I wanted to address right off the bat is, why do we have unequal outcomes, right? When people set big goals, why do we have unequal outcomes? There's some people that come into this business and they're a rock star and they all of a sudden get it and they're just killing it. And then we have other people that take 6 months to sell a policy. We have other people that take a year to sell a policy. And then we have some people that are right there in the middle. Well, the reality of it is a lot of times what we do is we kind of compare ourselves to another person that has a little bit more skill set. And the reality of it is that the people that have a little bit of a skill set come into the business bringing that with them, which gives them a little bit of an advantage, right? Like, here's an example. Like, if somebody told me, hey, Shawn, go start a real estate business, I can do that. I have a skill set of doing that. But if somebody told my neighbor who's never been in real estate before to go start a real estate business, he's not going to be able to do that because he has no skill set, right? It's like somebody telling somebody, like, here's another example. I have a person on my team who's 88 years old. He has a skill set of selling insurance, but he doesn't have a skill set of using the computer. So he has to go back to square one and start figuring out how to use a computer because all the apps are on the page nowadays. So what happens is a lot of times they set their goals and then they start seeing other people that are successful. And then all of a sudden they give up on their goals, or they think they set their goals a little bit too high. But the reality of it is they're just not there yet, right? And so what happens is we have to start kind of building stacks of bricks on top of each other, right? That first stack of bricks is probably in this business is going through boot camp, right? Learning the processes of how to sell insurance. And then all of a sudden you're good at that. And then the next set of bricks would be practicing your script, and the reality of it is somebody that has a stack of like 10, 15 bricks, they don't need to practice their script. They can literally hop on the phones, say their script in their mind one time and they're good to go. They can just start setting appointments because they've done it before. But somebody that's never been in the business, you may need an hour to prepare to practice your script so that when you get on the phones, you're not wasting that practice. You're not fumbling your words around when you have a client on the line that you paid money for, right? And so you may need an hour to practice that script, right? And once you get good at getting on the phones and setting more appointments, now that's your next 5 bricks, right? And then the next 5 bricks may be, now you got to practice and get better at presenting, figuring out the health conditions, figuring out which policy is going to work best for that client, figuring out how best to help that client. Maybe it's an IUL with Americo or a Mutual of Omaha, right? Then that becomes your next 5 bricks. After that, now you have, okay, I need to become consistent. How many leads do you need to buy to become consistent? Remember this, write this down. Persistency will get you there. Consistency will keep you there. Okay. Persistency will get you there. Consistency will get you there. And that goes back to massive imperfect action. But by doing all of that stuff, all of a sudden you're going to get good at presenting, and then you'll sell your first policy. You'll help a family. And then all of a sudden you're getting better and better and better. And now you're going to help more families and more families and more families. And you start to gain a ratio. And instead of that curve going up and down like this, now that curve is just going to start evening out a little bit. There will always be ups and downs, but they will be smaller ups and downs along the way. And then as you become more consistent, that's your next set of bricks. And now you have a small little wall up and it's starting to look good, right? The next set of bricks may be hiring an admin, hiring a dialer, putting stuff into your business, working less on dialing and setting appointments and working more on building your business. That's your next set of bricks. And then it just starts going from there. But the problem is what people do is they compare themselves to somebody else that has like a stack of 10, 15 bricks. in this scenario when they only have like their first 5 set of bricks. And maybe they haven't sold their first policy in the first 3 months, but that doesn't matter, right? They're comparing themselves, seeing all the success of other people, when in reality, all they have to do is compare themselves to themselves, right? The other thing that I want to talk about is, there's um, I can't remember which one it is, but in the Matrix, if you guys have never seen Matrix before, there's Neo, and he's supposed to be the one, and he's supposed to, help tear down the people that are coming after him. But his teacher is Morpheus, and he's teaching him how to fight. And he says, "Stop trying to hit me and hit me." And I thought that was pretty powerful, because what that means to me is, trying is just a synonym of struggling, right? It invites the meaning that, what, you could fail at this, right? But what he's saying is, stop trying and just do it. And you see a lot of people going through the motions and just being mediocre, right? They're not trying. Maybe they're going through trying to set as many appointments as possible, but they're not executing. They're not setting the appointments. They hear an objection and they're like, and then all of a sudden the person hangs up, right? Whereas in reality, if they were to take some time to read over the objections and prepare those in their mind, when that objection comes up, they may stumble a little bit, but now they get around it and they execute. And that's the purpose of it, is to execute. And so if you think of like Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady has been in the business for a lot of years, but he's so good because he can go to a whole nother team and win a Super Bowl, because he just executes. He just makes it happen, right? He can win a championship because he knows that I'm just going to force a win right here. Now, is it going to happen every time? No. And it didn't happen for Tom Brady either. But he has that skill set backed up behind him, because he's got that foundation. He's got that time to where he's put in to learn the foundation so he can build on those skills. And once you get to a higher level, now it's just a couple of little tweaks here and there. And all of a sudden, you're literally just becoming a master at your craft, right? Quick story here about that basketball player, Kobe Bryant. You guys know who he is. He's one of the best of all time. His coach, I don't remember his name. He wrote a book. I read the book, and I don't remember the name of the book either, so I apologize. I got a great memory. It's just short. But in the book, I remember this specific item that he talked about. He was wanting to get Kobe Bryant to hire him as a coach. And, he sat down with him, talked to him, and said, "Kobe, try me out." And Kobe said, "Okay, meet me at the gym at 4 o'clock. And he's like, 4 o'clock in the morning? He's like, "Yeah." And that was really super early compared to all of the other people that he had trained. So he's like, "You know what? I'm going to impress Kobe Bryant, and I'm going to show up at 3 o'clock in the morning." And so he gets to the gym and all the lights are on, and he hears this squeaking going on. And it's the sound of squeaking from shoes. You guys have probably all heard of it being on the basketball court, right? Everybody's moving around, the shoes are squeaking. And so he walks in there, and Kobe's doing drills, just basic drills on footwork. Doesn't even have a ball in his hand. Okay. And he's been doing that now for about an hour, and since 2 o'clock in the morning. And so he walks up to Kobe and he's like, "Kobe, you're so good. Why are you working on just basic footwork?" And he looks at him and he's like, "Coach, I'm where I'm at right now because I still work on the basics." And it's true. If you can build a foundation of the basic stuff, then you're going to be excellent at whatever you do. You're going to master whatever you do, right? And so this training is about goals. So what I want to do here is just kind of get in. I want to share my screen here with you, and then get into building your skill set on goals here. Let me do this. And this training is going to be short because we have another one. I'm on Grady's call in about an hour, and I'm going to prepare for that here in just an hour. Okay, not going to let me do it. Let's try this. Or are you going to let me do it? Oh, it's not connected. Try this one more time. Okay, I got it connected. Let's go here. Ah. Okay. Well, we're going to have to shoot. Ah, try this one more time. There we go. Sorry for the delay, guys. Okay, so what I wanted to show you here is a couple of things, right? We got 29 weeks left until the end of this year. Okay. Um, Now, for a couple of, for some people, if you want to hit Hall of Fame, you've never started before. That's what these numbers are based off of, right? 29 weeks, you would have to do 13,793 a week in annual premium to hit Hall of Fame. Now, can you do that? Yeah, anybody can do that, right? It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of skill set to get on there and start doing that. But what I did right here is I created a so let me back up a minute. Whenever we go for a goal, we want to go for something that we want that we can control, right? You can't say I'm going to go out and do $1 million if you never sold a policy before, right? But that being said, can you look at it and say I want to earn 100,000 by the end of this year? And the answer is yes, you can. In this business, anybody can, right? You can literally do anything that you want to do in this business, 100,000. So the way you look at that is say, okay, the average policy is about $1,000 of payment. That's the average. Some of them's 800, some of them's 1,500. But once you start selling mortgage protection, you're gonna up your average premium to about anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500. My average premium for a mortgage protection policy is about the $2,500 mark. Okay. Once you start selling IULs, this number will go up to about 5 to 6K. Okay. So but let's just base it off of $1,000 at a monthly premium, right? So if we want to earn 100,000, super simple math. You're just going to back it down and say, okay, if an average policy is $1,000, I need to sell 100 policies within 6 months. Is that doable? Yeah. And then what we do is we back it down from there, and we're not going to look at it per month. Because what happens is we have some weeks or some months that have 5-week months in there. And then we have other months in there that have 4-week months. So what I like to do is just go straight for the weekly goal. And if you take 100 policies and divide that by 29 weeks, that's 3.5 policies per week. Now, this big, huge, hefty goal right here now seems a lot more achievable. right? And then what we do is if you've never, let me back up here. If you've never sold a policy, the first thing you're going to do is start selling a policy, and you're going to track it. And that's going to establish a ratio. And that ratio is going to determine how many policies per appointments that you're going to set, right? If you have 10 appointments and you sell one policy, right? Now you know you need 40 appointments per week to sell 4 policies. And it breaks down from there. And you do this, and this is going to get you to your 100,000 goal. Simple as that. Okay. If you want to make 250, you do the same thing. You just put in there 250, divide it by $1,000 per policy, and then multiply it or divide it out by 29 weeks. And then it'll tell you how many policies per week that you need to sell. Okay. It's really that simple. This is not complicated. It's not rocket science. Okay. But then the reality of it is, then this is where the massive imperfect action now comes to play. Because do you want to settle for 100,000, right? Because here's the reality. This may be 3.5 policies a week, but you're going to get better on the phones. You're going to start setting more appointments, and you're going to start raising your premiums. They're not going to be averaging 1,000. They'll eventually start averaging 1,200 per policy, maybe 1,500, because you're going to find different avenues to where you need to get some coverage for them. Maybe they have a $200,000 mortgage, but they need $250,000 so that they can pay off some extra bills that are going to be left behind. Maybe a car payment, maybe a $50,000 Escalade that they have to pay off, right? So there's extra money there that can bump you up. Maybe you sell a $200,000. Maybe you sell an AIG policy and then add on a accidental policy with Mutual of Omaha, right? That'll get you some extra premiums. So you're going to learn to grow this average number just by massive imperfect action and going for your goal, right? So that number, and by doing all of this, you have to track it, right? You have to go track all of your appointments. And I gave you the tracker last week. And if you guys don't have that, definitely reach out to me and I can send you a link to that so you can build, make a copy of it and make it your own. So you have to track your appointments so that you can see where you're at. If you're not tracking where you're at, then you're going out there blind. And if you want to get better, you have to know where you're at every single day, every single hour, every single week, right? Because the more you track, the better you're going to be. Okay. Massive imperfect action is the key, right? And why I say imperfect action is because it gives your brain the ability to relax and say, okay, I can make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, that's where you learn. But the massive action part of that is going to make up for the mistakes and help you learn faster. It's going to take that learning curve and shrink it down to 90 days, maybe 60 days, maybe 30 days. Right. And the faster you learn to overcome that, the faster you're going to be at raising this number right here. And this right here is the goal, to raise that number. Why? Because if we raise this number, then it's easier to get to this number right here, because this is the ultimate goal. That's the number that you want to be at. Right? Maybe it's not your number. If it's not your number, you can put in a number that makes you. Maybe you want to make 150,000 by the end of the year. But it's very, very possible to make that type of number. Okay. And then what you want to do is once you set this up, you don't want to go for the outcome. You don't want to go for this number right here. This is your ultimate goal, but what we want to do is go for this number right here, right? Because if we go for this number right here, the brain says, okay, this is easy. I can do this. If you're going for this number right here, the brain says that is too big of a goal. I'm going to struggle a little bit. I don't like struggling. Let's try to figure something else out, right? We want to make it easy to hit this goal. Right? And if you don't hit this goal the first week, so what? Doesn't mean you have to change it. Doesn't mean you have to change it at all. If you don't hit this goal by the end of the year, doesn't mean you have to change it. You can go for that goal until you hit it, right? And then here's the other thing. What you want to do is enjoy the process, not the outcome. Why don't we want to go for this outcome? Because if you start going for the outcome, now it's I need to make a sale. Now it's all me, 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 me. I need to make a sale. I'm getting close to my goal. I need to make a sale. Rather, on the flip side of it, if you go for the policies, you say, how can I help this family today? How can I make this family feel safe because they need a policy to protect their family? How can and also by doing that, now you're enjoying the process, talking to the people, having fun with the people, and whatever outcome comes, that's what happens. It is what it is, right? You do the best you possibly can with the people that you have, right? With the goal of, I'm going to help as many people as I possibly can. And when you have that goal, you're going to eventually start hitting this goal. No business was built in a day, a week, a month, right? No business was built in a year. There's so many businesses that were in red for a year. And then all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 years later, now they're in the black. In fact, most businesses are in the red most of the year until Black Friday, hence the reason why we have Black Friday. Because most businesses are in the red until that day comes, because then they have a huge shopping spree, right? So as long as you never ever give up, the only outcome that you're ever going to have is to succeed. Because if we go back to the example I talked about at the beginning of the call about adding stacks of bricks on top of each other and on top of each other and on top of each other, eventually those stacks of bricks will be so high that you have no choice but to succeed. Like Tom Brady, he has no choice but to succeed because he has mastered his skill the whole way. He never gave up. He put in the hard work every single day. And then when it came down to it, he switched teams, whole nother coaching staff, whole nother team set. And within 2 years, he won the Super Bowl again, right? You can win the Super Bowl here. Anybody and everybody can do it, right? If somebody else has done it, that means you can do it too. Why not you, right? And even if you level up and nobody's done it, well, guess what? You can do it anyways. You can make it happen, right? So instead of going out there and struggling and just going through the motions, we need to execute and build your goals. So I'm going to encourage you to take literally, it doesn't take very long. You can take a half an hour right now in between now and the next call and build your goals. Say, where do I want to be at by 12/31 of 2024? What is that going to look like financially for me in this business? And put a number in there. And then divide that out by 29 weeks. And that's starting next week, by the way. I'm not even counting this week. So by starting next week, that's the 29th week. And then you can say, okay, that's going to be however many policies, and then divide that number by 29 weeks. And that's how many policies that you have per week that you have to write. And then go for that. And if it comes to Friday and you still have one policy left, or Saturday and you have one policy left, well, guess what? How bad do you want to hit your goals? That's where sacrifice comes in. Right? That's why Steve Giordano, Juan Franco are at the top of the charts, right? Shadi Garfe, they're at the top of the charts because if they don't hit their goal, they're not stopping no matter what, right? So, but know that when you do hit your goal, you're definitely going to be rewarded for it. You're going to be rewarded. Why? Because you're going to have the knowledge and the education and the experience that brought you to there. You're going to have the reward from the monetary side of it, from the dollars hitting your pocket. And then you're going to be rewarded with FFL because they're going to bonus the crap out of you. And so will the carriers, right? So it's all in fun and games all the way till the end. My very, very first year I'm going to tell you a quick story and then we're going to be done. My very first year in this business was in 2022. I sold my first policy in February. I sold 3 of them the second week in, and then I didn't sell anything for 2 weeks. And then March rolled around and I said, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I'm not executing. I'm not telling people what they need to do, submitting the application. So I started doing that, and I had a rock star month in March. I did like 22,000. Okay. In April, I did 50,000. Okay. Then I went up and I went down, and the hills were really, really big. I'm about, where was it? $330,000 at the beginning of December of 2022. And my goal is right here to hit Hall of Fame, 400,000. I really wanted it so bad. Now, it's at the end of, back then they did the weeks differently. It was on Wednesday was the end of the FFL week. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's why they did. Or that's what they did. And one of the very first week was part of the end of November and the beginning of December. We had gone on vacation to a Vikings game up in the Twin Cities because that was the Thanksgiving weekend. I come back and I wrote a bunch of policies with Prosperity, and I didn't understand. I thought that once it said sent to underwriting, that it would be approved. In that case, it's not approved. So I had about $13,000 worth of apps that didn't go through. Okay. So now I'm sitting at $330,000, $70,000 left to write, and I got 4 weeks left. And December was a 5-week month, but I only got 4 weeks left. And so I didn't look back. I looked forward. And every single day, I believed in myself, I believed in God, and I believed that there was enough people out there that needed my help that I could help them. And I went to work. And I remember just getting closer and closer and closer. And in the back of my head was, I'm going to get so close and then I'm not going to make it. But I still acted as if I was going to hit it. And the very, very last day of the year, it came right down to the nitty gritty. I got a mortgage protection mailer come in, and it was at 7:00 at night. I was done with all of my appointments for the day, and I'm at 397,000. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I'm at 397,000, and I get a mortgage mailer in. It's a fresh mortgage lead, and the guy's 73 years old. And I'm going, crap, because now I know I can sell him a term policy that's going to be pretty big, but he may not be able to afford it. So I'm starting to grow doubt in my mind, right? So, but I acted as if, and I believed in myself. I believed in God. I believed that this was meant to happen. So I called the guy up. I was real nonchalant about it. And I said, hey, man, I'm just giving you a call back regarding the mortgage protection insurance that you had sent into our office, filled out and sent into our office. They just want me to go over the options with you. You want to go over this real quick, or you want me to reschedule for tomorrow? And I gave him a way out. And he said, no, let's knock it out right now. We ended up talking on the phone for 2.5 hours. The guy has a Mexican wife, just like I do. He speaks Spanish. I speak half Spanish. And we talked for 2.5 hours. He ended up buying a policy, a $10,000 policy. And the premium on it was, I want to say it was like $3,500 or $3,800, which put me right over the top. And that was the last policy I sold in that whole year. I still didn't even know if I made Hall of Fame, because I didn't know if they counted all the policies or if somebody canceled and that didn't get recorded. And all of a sudden, about 2 weeks later, Ed Terrell calls me up and he's like, hey, Shawn, I just want to let you know, I know you're pretty darn close to hitting Hall of Fame, but guess what? You are part of the club. You just hit Hall of Fame. And I remember just jumping up and down because I hit my goal. I was so happy. It was like the best time of my life in that moment right there, because I hit my goal. I worked so hard to do it. You know, even the doubt was coming into my mind, but I still worked and worked and worked to do it. And I actually achieved what I set out to do. And it was just an amazing feeling. So what I want to stress to you guys here is that You know, nothing happens unless you take massive imperfect action. You're going to have your ups and downs, and they're going to be big ups and downs. But don't look backwards, look forwards. Because when you look forward, everything good is going to happen. You have no choice but to succeed as long as you're putting yourself 1 foot forward at a time and keep learning.